Hello my scrapping friends and welcome to Creating Your Memories. I'm Deborah Kozlovic and I'm a Creative Memories Independent Advisor from Australia. Today I wanted to share with you a nice border layout using the Evergreen Trees. The Evergreen Trees border punch was brought out with Deeper in the Woods. So today I'll be showing you what you can actually use your punch out trees, because it punches out a perfectly two trees from once you punch it out. So these are the trees that it punches out. You've got your big tree and then you have a smaller one, and after punching a few of these, depending on what kind of border or what you're going to be using your evergreen tree punch for, you're going to have a lot of punch outs with the trees. So today I want to share with you an idea that I've come up with using your punch out of all your decorative trees. So I'm going to show you how I use that on a layout by making a border at the bottom of my page here, as you can see, and then I've interlapped each one of those, so making it look like a forest. And then I've added up my photos at the top of the page. So I'm going to show you how I did this. Items that you would need if you want to create along, or you can use, any other Pacific papers that you would like to use. I'm going to be using a cross between Deep in the Woods, which was brought out in 2021, I think it was, to Deeper in the Woods. Let me just double check and get it right. Yeah, I think it was 2021, and then you've got the new one that they released this year, which is Deep in the Woods, which is also similar paper. So today I will be using a beige cardstock. I'm going to follow along with this border because I want to make like a double page, and I'll be using this forest paper, designer paper, and on the reverse there's like a wood look, and I'll be using the ferny, and then you've got some like wood chips on the reverse side. So if we go back to, I'm just going to get my folder out. So this year they released Deeper in the Woods. You still get that foresty look paper. So I mean, that is still in the new collection, but on the reverse side you get more of a wood look on the back. And then with the fern, so the fern is exactly the same, so you get the fern paper and then you get like the wood look chip on the reverse. So they do have the similar papers but different backing on one. So, and what I did was, to start off with, I got my 12-inch trimmer. So I've just picked out two different designer papers. It's not really directional, so I can cut any part of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at 3. So it's a 3 by 12. And then I'm going to get my other designer paper. Now this is the directional of the trees going up, so I want to cut it also at 3 by 12. So then when I have it laying out on my paper landscape ways, the trees will be facing the right way. So we don't need the trimmer anymore at the moment, so I'm going to put that aside. And then all I did was, I more or less just found a middle point and then I just tore it. So anyway, it doesn't have to be perfect, it can be any kind of tearing. And then I did the same thing with the pine trees, just tearing it away. As I said, it does not have to be perfect. So what I did was I used the green with the white paper tear facing up, and then with the opposite side you also get the tearing with the white, which I use the opposite for the brown. So I've got my green fern leaves, so I'm going to have that. So I'm just going to use my repositional tape, and I'm just going to tape down the bottom and the sides and leave the rest open. So I'm just going to put that down the bottom. This cardstock's a little bit bigger, it's like a 1/8 bigger, so I'm just going to turn it and see if it makes a difference. It doesn't slightly, so I'm just going to move it to the end and trim that off when I've completed the layout. So I'm just going to adhere that down the bottom. So then I want to get my ferns and turn it over and then use the brown. So I want to have that lifted, but I'm going to bring in my other side so I know how much I need to put that up on my layout. So again, I'm just going to adhere down the bottom and a bit on the sides. So I want to have it sort of matching and with the same height, because it is going to be that double page spread. So I just want to have that raised a little bit more up here. So I've got that there. Then I'm going to adhere my trees. So depending if you're doing a double page or you're doing a single page, it doesn't matter, you know, to start off with a starting point of how far you want your pieces to stand out. So I mean, just putting it under a little bit, you know, like just under a tab of that next layer and not sealing it, because you're going to tuck your trees in behind each one. So I'm just going to match this one up now to the next layer. So just remember that if you are making a double page, you want to try and to have it similar to the sizing. So I'm just going to pull this one over a little bit more, just so they match up at this end. So now we're going to go with the brown. So just putting this one in also, which is a little bit less on that side. I think that just looks about right. So now that I've got them matching in the middle, so when I do, just make sure that it's matching on this side. Yeah, just a little bit out. I should have been matching it the other way, because I think I might, no, I need to do it like this. So I should have been matching it on the opposite side, sorry. So I'm going to have to move this one up a bit. My little mistake. And then I think I'm just going to leave it like that. So what I want to do now is I want to bring in my punched out trees. I do have some extra paper that I've used. I've actually used the mossy white paper, and on the reverse of this one is like all the moss on the brick of a mountain, and then I'm using the leaf paper as my other trees. So I'm more or less using a white. So as you can see on this one, the white of the moss of those trees, they actually stand out, and then you've got the green leafy ones. So what I did from here was all the tall trees, all the mossy white trees. I put them on the outside, and then in between I would get the green leaf one and then put it in the middle. So if I bring in my silicone mat, so I'm just using repositional because it's easy to move the trees. So I'm just going to stick down a couple with repositional and then set them along. So at the moment I'm just getting all the white trees out that are taller, that don't have the trunk at the bottom. And what I did was I just put it in behind and have that going up. And then I just spread them out a little bit more. And with your rip edges, that would make the tree, you know, like going like a mountain look. And it also depends on how you tall that. So that also makes it a little bit different. So when I stuck them down that there was enough so you can put a tree in between each one. So you can put them in behind your bottom layout. Just get my multi-purpose tool here. And because we didn't stick that down, you can actually stick that tree in behind there. We didn't stick down the brown one, but as you're putting it down on your trees, that adheres that top layer down, and then you've got the second green tree layout paper that you can slot behind the trees in between there as well. So doing a couple of green ones now. So I'm going to get a couple of the green leafy ones with the trunk. And what I did was I just put them in between. Something like this. And then I'm going to put this little white one in the middle. So it's just making the trees look like it's sitting on a mountain and that you're in a forest. So I just continue that whole step going along, alternating colours, alternating tree looks until I was satisfied and happy with the turnout of my layout. So putting in a few more white ones. So the only thing that you need to do is just, you know, like continue this whole little thing going along. You can alternate and use the bigger green trees. You might want to put them up a little bit further. And then you have your white ones, the mossy looking ones. So just continue to alternate them and then changing up and using your different colors. So as you can see, with that border there, the trees are coming to look like, you know, like into the forest. Which makes it look a little bit different, you know, like coming onto this one. And what I did was I continued that all along on the green here and then also the top green. And then I'm going to put a white one here. And then I can trim that off. So I'm going to work on my second layout now. I've done the bottom layout. I'm going to think about maybe putting some more trees in between. But I want to start on my second layout and then decide that. And as you can see, I've gone off the page. So if I trim that now, using my multi-purpose scissors. You can see how that half a tree there looks like it's, you know, in the setting with all the tree line. And then you've got this one here, which I've done exactly the same. So we're going to start on the second layer, and then we can discuss photos and what photos I used on my layout. So remember that when you're doing the second liner, it is going to overlap and go onto your base page. So think about what photos that you want to use before completing this second bit. I mean, with my ones, I did stick my photo behind and have the trees laying up on the photo, which worked well in that. But just have a think about the photos that you would be using, and if that's an option that you would like to do. Some people don't like to, you know, cover their photos up as such with the paper. So have a think about that and what kind of photos that you would like to use on your layout also. Then you can position your photos to where you want them, to know how far you want to line those trees up in the middle that's coming out onto your base page. Okay, so I need to punch a few more trees. I've still got some scrap paper here that I can use. So I'm just going to go through, punch some more trees out. So I want some big trees. Got a few small ones, but not some big ones. I'm just going to put them in. Okay, I do need to punch out some more big trees. So I've got a piece of designer paper. So I'll go through the punch with you. So with our Creative Memories punches, that is the block punch that's going to punch out your 2 trees. And then once you punch it, you just follow along with the blue to match it up to go to your next punch. And to start off with, you have some black lines in the front, which that's where you first lined your paper up at. So we're just going to line that paper in onto that black line, and then we'll punch. And then I'm just going to move it along until it matches and all that blue is covered, and then punch. And with this punch, the only confetti that you are going to get left from this punch is your trees. So that's why it's so simple and easy to use these evergreen trees onto a layout. And then punch. And then last one, lining it up, all the glue is covered, and then punch. And then if I put another piece of paper behind those evergreen trees, you can see how you can also use that as a border. So now that we've got some more trees, some big trees, I'm going to put some more repositional tape on the back and then put them in. So at the moment I'm just trying to fill up, just move all this out of the way for a minute. So I'm trying to fill up some of the little gaps so it looks a little bit more fuller. And then still trying to keep in mind that it's going to match my first page. So I'm just going to trim off that tree that I have overhanging. And then also on this side, trim it off. And then, so looking at both of these layouts now, I think I might put in a couple more white ones in here, in between here and here. Maybe a couple more down the bottom, and then I think that is done. Just one more. I love how these trees just punch out from the punch. It's very utilized punch that can be used. How about just one more? You can never go wrong with too many trees, I think. So I think I'm satisfied with that now. So what I did was, after that, I just clear away all these other trees. Oops. Move my silicone mat. So with these trees here, you can see now how it all lines up nicely. So I've got, you know, like I've got my first page layout, and then I've got my second page layout, and I probably would do the photos similar, but on this one I would mirror it, so I would have the two here and then the one over there. The size of the photos that I used are, this one here is 5.5 by 3 1/4. So this one would be the same, yep, 3 1/4 by 5.5. And then I have my bigger photo over here, which is 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And then with that second photo on by itself, the singly one, it is slightly bigger, and I also matted it as well. These ones I didn't worry about it because, you know, like with coming out from the trees, I don't think it needed to be matted. And then I used a border, a laser border strip of coming out on the side of the top photo. And the labels that I use, I should say the titles that I use, are a must-have title, laser titles, and these were the laser cut title embellishments 4 of 4. So there was different ones that came out. So this one was the 4 of 4, and these was also released in 2021. So I've just gone through my stash and found some labels, or, you know, that would match with the coming of my layout, and they have some nice good outdoor ones. So if you got these in your stash, pull them out and maybe use them. You've got this one, you've got Discover, it must have been a 2-pack that I've mixed together. You've got Everyday, just showing you some of these labels. You have Details, you've got Everyday, Easy Living, and you can see how well the colouring of this brown and the green match so well with Deeper in the Woods. You've got Cherished Memories. You also have Current Mood. I love this one. This one's is The Great Outdoors. So, I mean, you know, like that title would work perfectly with any page that you be doing with your evergreen punch. Go through your stash today and see if you got some of these laser cut titles. And, you know, like start to use them and put them down on your layouts. They make a beautiful title for your page. And, you know, you never know the colouring system on them. Some of them were black, some of them were brown. These ones were, you know, the off colour with the evergreen, the white tanny colour look and the grey. And that's how I use these titles here. You've got details and then you've got discover. And this is the photo that I've used is of my sister when we're at the top of Mount Wellington, and it was a viewpoint and we actually jumped off the brick wall. So, and you know, I captured that with using the tree line and making that border, you know, being on top of the mountain. So that is my little tutorial today of how to use your punch outs and making a little border down the bottom with the evergreen tree punch. So why don't you have a try today, you know, like doing a little bit of tearing and doing a little bit of tucking inside there and making a nice little border. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. If there's anything that you would like to know, please just let me know. And happy scrapping, everyone.